an update and discussion on the Tri-County School construction project. I know we have Mr. Lawrence. Is it Mr. Haynes?
Yes.
Mr. Haynes, Daniel Haynes is in here tonight as well. From Tri-County, we know there's a vote on October 24th for our town and the surrounding areas that are part of Tri-County to be able to vote for a project. So they're going to give us an overview, I think, on the project and the vote. So thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Council President, Council members, Mr. Borg. It's a pleasure to be here back in North Attleborough, talk about our school building project. I'm Dan Haynes, I'm the school business manager. Dr. McGuire, Superintendent McGuire, was hoping she would be here, but she's in Walpole tonight for another meeting. Just want to, that was a great recognition of your public safety officials. That's very impressive. So our project, we were here back in the spring, I believe, with Dr. McGuire. So this is really an update of where we stand right now. So the next slide. So Tri-County, from Sherborne to Seekonk. The highlighted blue, those are the towns, 11-member towns that make up Tri-County. We operate 16 vocational programs, 2 post-secondary programs, and we currently work out of a building that was built in the mid-1970s. Building is used from 7:30 in the morning till about 9:30 in the evening with our post-secondary and community education programs. Next slide. So the process, the MSBA process, I'm sure you've been through this with your own schools here in North Attleborough. So we started, our original SOI was submitted probably in 2015. We did not get accepted until 2019 in December, and we know what happened after that. So COVID slowed things down a bit. So we hired our OPM in 2021, worked through the first 4 steps here. We're in step 5. August 30th, the MSBA approved our scope and budget for our project. So we have 120 days to secure a vote to get that project moved forward. And I'll talk about that a little further. The next slide shows that this is a long process. So 2021, as I mentioned, we hired our OPM, finished demolishing the old building and having the athletic field finished, be 2028. So it's quite a long process. We are where the star is. Again, this is kind of a mirrors the last slide. On the next slide. So our existing conditions, these are highlighted in our statement of interest to the MSBA. We have site issues, obviously some building envelope issues and infrastructure issues. All these would be prevalent in a building that's over 50 years old or approaching 50 years old. Just to let you know, it's actually 2 of our bathrooms were closed this morning when I arrived at school because there was a plumbing issue. And I think it's the 5th time that's happened. So the building is showing its age. There are many issues. And it actually, if you get a moment in the tri-countybuilding.com, that's our website, there's a great video that staff and students put on that highlights some of our existing conditions in the building. Next slide. So as part of the MSBA process, we explored these 4 options. The base option was really not explored. $165 million would not meet our educational needs. The MSBA would not participate in a significant way in that first option. We looked at an ad reno option and in 2 forms, an option 3.11 and an option 4. And we looked at new construction. The preconceived notion going into this project was this would be an ad reno or a renovation project. But when looking at the prices, in these order of magnitude prices, the new construction really stood out. I mean, if educating students in a building that's being renovated, especially voc ed students, is extremely difficult. That was part of our, looking at these and the, just the amount of money that we would spend on an ad reno, and you'd still have a building that's in some forms 50 years old. So our next slide here. So the final approved budget for the new construction, 285, 992, 692, with an MSBA grant of 82.7 million. That's what the MSBA would participate in this project. The new building is, you know, when we looked at the cost savings and what it would cost for those renovation projects, you know, this was determined to be the best value and our preferred option. Like I said, the MSBA did give us the go-ahead with this on August 30th. Next slide. So this is the current building. It's more of a sprawling building. The square footage is about 285,000 square feet. But the yellow highlight, the line, is our border of our land holdings. So, you know, one of our thoughts was to build this on the existing football field. But one of the considerations, if you see that, you know, the neighborhoods, the houses over near there, you know, people don't want to look out their window and see shop class or listen to some of the carpentry machines running. So the best solution was to build this new building behind the school. That's the solar array field. So we would construct the new building on the solar array, demolish the old bit structure, and turn that into a parking lot. You know, it made the most sense. In even some of our, you know, you can't see this in the picture, but there's some topography issues. It is a steep hill that, you know, off of 140 when you head up to the building at Tri-County. Next slide. So this is a rendition. This is a, you know, view of what the new building would look like. It'd be a 3-story structure. Built, and the parking lots would be in the front. We would use some of the materials that we would use that we're pulling out to build that baseball field that you see in the front. That is on a slope, so that would need some fill to level that off. And there'd be additional student parking down below on the left-hand side, and that's currently where our baseball field is held. Next slide. So this would be the first floor. So if you look at we call these our high bay shops. We have plumbing, HVAC, auto technology. And there'd be classroom spaces right across the hall from these high bay shops for collaboration, educational learning. There'd be a courtyard in the middle. One of the things I really want to emphasize is, so the main entrance would be dedicated for students. And you can see to the right, there's a customer entrance. And the customer entrance, right now, students and customers that will, you know, are going to our culinary arts or our cosmetology, our early education program, they enter the school, there's a security guard, and once they're checked in, they're in the building. It's not a dedicated space like you see here. We will dedicate the space for what we call the customer shops, the customer-facing shops. They'd have their own separate entrance. In the mid-1970s, school security was not on the forefront of everybody's thought process, and it is today. Next slide. This would be the second floor. These are our health and dental shops. Again, classrooms for collaboration across the hall. And then there would be a third floor. There would be some additional classroom space on the front side of the building. Next slide. So how do we move this forward from here? There will be a vote. It's a district-wide vote on October 24th. It would be from noon to 8 p.m. It'll take place in all 11 communities at the same time at the polling station or the polling place that has been determined by the town clerks. And here, Pat Dolan from your elections committee, we've worked closely with Pat. She's wonderful. So collectively, we'll have this district-wide vote. The way this works, think of all 11 communities as one community. It's the folks that turn out to vote. Simple majority, 50% plus 1 carries the vote either way. This is defined in Mass General Law, Chapter 7116N. That's our governing debt borrowing in our district agreement. Your polling location is North Attleborough High School. Next slide. So from that point, assuming this project goes forward, we will issue a 30-year bond. We will bond this project. The debt repayment assessment to each community will be based on October 1st enrollment, and it will take place annually. In our district agreement, there is a 5-pupil minimum for a capital debt assessment. So currently Sherborne only has 1 student. They would be assessed for 5. Next slide. And if you looking at this, if you look at North Attleborough is about 26% of our student body. So in the debt structure, you would pay about 26%, but this would change based on your enrollment each October 1st. It's not fixed in time. But this is a representation of our enrollment. This school, we went through an enrollment study with the MSBA. It's going to be being built for 1,000 students, which is our current capacity. We're not changing that, and we're not changing the size of the building that we're constructing. So I'd like to open up maybe for questions from the council, or...
Thank you, Mr. Haynes. I have a question too, but are there any questions from the council? Comments?
Not yet.
The only thing that just came to mind for me is just, especially given that we make up, what was the percentage of students that we?
About 26%.
6%, a sizable percentage of the
Yes.
population there. The impact on our town budget, have you guys given any thought to, and is it possible to have a 40-year? Are there any advantages in terms of maybe having a 40-year?
We are limited by Mass General Law. 30 years is the
30 years,
maximum borrowing term for this project.
Okay, that was my question. Obviously, you're dragging the duration out there, but potentially lessening the impact, at least in today's dollars, you know. Mr. Borg?
Council President, members of the council, this is an important issue for the town that we have to consider. And it's something that weighs heavily on myself and the administration as we go through it, as I don't think you can look at this in a single action. There's more than one budget-related activities, and ultimately the council will vote on the budget. So just a couple of observations and information that, that I would like to put out from the town's perspective. This will impact our budget. If this passes, right, our portion is about $3 million per year, right? Our current tuition assessment to Tri-County is $3.6 million. So that would be somewhere in the area of $6.6 million based on our current enrollment of 238 students at Tri-County. We have to examine how this is going. Now, if everybody in North Attleborough voted for it and everybody in the other 10 communities voted against it, and it didn't pass, no impact. But if we all voted for it and they've all voted against it and they have more, it doesn't pass. But if they have more, and the opposite is true. If everybody outside of North Attleborough votes for it, everybody in North Attleborough doesn't, which is not going to happen. There's no majority vote one way or the other. It will still happen. We will have to pay for this. I have, when they see the ballot, when residents go to vote for this at the polling place on the 24th, it's going to ask them a question. And I've seen the ballot, we've approved it, we've worked through, and it's going to say, do you approve the construction of a building at $285 million? What is not on that ballot is how it's being paid for, right? That's not an initiative that's before the voters, right? And it's not tied to, so it's yes or no, and then they'll take that. The town has really two ways to pay for this as we go through and look at this. The first way is out of our general fund. Do we have the capacity in the current budget to be able to absorb $3 additional million to pay for this based on our current population? The other would be to put a debt exclusion before the voters, and that debt exclusion, if approved, would change every year based on the population, and that would be added above and beyond whatever the council voted with regards to Proposition 2.5 in the vote. So it would be on top of it. I read the article that Plainville had the other day in the Sun Chronicle about the Tri-County Forum that they had, and the MSBA. And one of my real issues is with the MSBA on this is they're coming to the table with 56% of eligible costs. $85 million is not 56% of the cost of the building, right? So I'm always hesitant when I see that, because that's $200 million that all 11 communities need to account for and take into consideration when this is being voted. Our portion of that is significantly higher. We have the highest population of any community. That could, if our population goes up, our assessment's going to go up every year. If it goes down, our assessment goes less. So it works both ways. I think it's just a very expensive time for everybody to be taking on construction projects, even North Attleborough. I will tell you, when we come to our financial update, you will hear me talk about one of the rationale of why we switched to 451 Elm, because the cost of construction was going out through the roof. My other issue with the MSBA that I've raised with both our elected official, Senator Feeney and Rep. Scanlon, is that the reimbursement rate is based on $392 a square foot for a building. You saw on the slide there, the cost is going to be right at $811 a square foot. The towns are responsible for other, remember, they're reimbursing at 56% of that eligible cost, and then the town. So we're looking at probably close to $600 a square foot that we would, all the towns would be responsible for. I think voters have to take this into consideration as well. This is a popular vote. It's going to happen. It doesn't indicate on the ballot how it would be paid for. Folks are going to vote yes or no for it. And I think North Attleborough voters should be informed of all the aspects when they go to the ballot.
Agreed. Thank you, Mr. Borg. Yep. And that's part of why we agreed to have the Tri-County folks come in and let's have a conversation about it. Any other questions or thoughts from councilors? Any closing remarks, Mr. Haynes?
There are two bills, Senator Feeney and Representative Roy sponsored, House 538, Senate 274, which they're trying to get at some of the millionaires tax, $3 billion to set up a trust fund to help pay for some of these schools. Keep in mind, this school, when it was built with federal and state money. There was no cost to the communities at that time. But recognizing it costs more to build a vocational school. You know, we have an auto tech shop that has lifts that you would see in a garage or in an auto technology shop anywhere. And they don't reimburse for that. You know, we're getting the same reimbursement for our classrooms as you would get in a comprehensive school. So Mr. Borg highlighted that $811 per square foot to build, they're reimbursing at $392. So, you know, reach out to your, senator and your representative and show support. I think you have done that.
I have.
You know.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.